Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode, wherever in the world you are listening to us from, whatever platform you are listening to us on. As always, as I say every episode, thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for the kind messages, the emails, the tweets, all of the things that you've sent my way, the questions you've sent, asking us about certain things or asking, for some follow-up on things that guests said. I think that stuff's really cool too. So keep those messages coming. And as always, thank you so much for the support. Now, I know a lot of you listening are either head coaches who have assistants, or many of you listening may also be assistant coaches of some capacity, whether it's at a high school level or a college level. And as we all know, for a coaching staff to be successful, we have to have all of our coaches be on board, and all of them have to feel like they have a voice and that they have the ability to kind of take charge in the program as needed, or have a role that they can really sink their teeth in and have leadership on. And so what we're going to talk about today is the concept of taking on leadership as an assistant coach. So if you are an assistant coach listening, hopefully what this will help you do is maybe get you some ideas, maybe some suggestions you can take to your head coach about taking on leadership. And if you're a head coach listening, hopefully this will help you maybe think of some ideas about delegating some leadership and how to empower your assistants in order to have some more leadership in your program. So really looking forward to exchanging some ideas and talking about this really important concept. So like I said, every single coach on the coaching staff feels like they have some power and they have some leadership ability, and that they can in some way have a little bit of leadership on the program. So to help discuss this topic with me, very happy to have on assistant men's basketball coach. He's out in Champion Christian College. Very happy to be joined by Coach Parket Gravitt today. Coach, appreciate you being able to carve out some time to come talk to us here. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to get to talk some basketball, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, ready to talk some hoops, Coach. Let's start with your basketball journey and your coaching journey. So where's the game of basketball taken you, and what were kind of the steps along your journey that got you to where it is you're at right now at Champion Christian?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town, Texarkana, Texas, and it's actually a town that is kind of split down the middle of. It's partially Texas, partially Arkansas. So grew up there and played basketball growing up, and went to a little high school outside of Texarkana called Redwater High School. So it's a little 3A, and played 4 years there. Played varsity 3 years, and actually got the opportunity to an offer to play college basketball at Champion Christian. And I accepted it, and super thankful to Coach Epps, and who was the main coach at the time. Who gave me an offer and an opportunity to play there. So I went there and decided to redshirt my freshman year of college, and turns out it was a local high school and junior high that was really close, kind of like a connection between Champion and a Christian school called Gospel Light. And so I was given an opportunity to be sort of a volunteer assistant for the high school and the junior high team there, and we're super thankful for that. Did that for a year, and actually was in a situation where the assistant coach, who was the head coach of the junior high team, he was having a baby, and so he had to step out for a junior high tournament. So asked me to fill in and take over for the weekend. So I did that, and I really think after that is when I realized, hey, this is something that I want to do. I really love coaching, and I really feel like it's a lot. I'm like playing in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I liked the leadership roles and the opportunities that I was given. So, that summer, I was given the opportunity to become a full-time assistant at the high school and the junior high. And obviously it was a tough decision, deciding if I was going to play college still or jump right into coaching at my age. But
Sure.
I think praying about it, talking about it, I just decided to get right into coaching and stuff. And so I was at Gospel Light for 2 years. I was the head junior high coach there, and was the assistant for the varsity men's team. And was super thankful for the people who were there, and the people I got to coach with, and a lot of my players. So it's actually a Christian school, so we're actually able to recruit.
Oh,
And
okay.
I
Yeah.
was actually, yeah. So I was able to recruit about 6 or 7 players to Gospel Light, varsity guys. And so my second year, we actually were 26-4,
Oh, wow.
and made it to the state championship. Lost at the buzzer, so
Oh,
it was a yeah
it's
tough
tough.
way to go out. Yes, sir. Yeah. It was definitely a tough way to end the season, but I was very proud of the team that we were able to build and put
Hmm.
together. So from that, I was given an opportunity and an offer to go back to Champion and be an assistant there, and kind of a head up, or I kind of worked with our other assistant at being the head development coach there and stuff. So I was able to go back and begin coaching college, because I've always felt like coaching college was somewhere I wanted to be.
Hmm.
And the level of players and talent, I definitely have always wanted to step into a college coaching position. So I've been fortunate to do that, and that's kind of where I am now. So I'm getting ready to be done with my first year. We're actually 17-4 this season with
Oh, wow. Awesome.
our yes sir, yeah, our men's team, and we're getting ready to go to a national tournament actually
Ooh,
this next week. So we're
okay.
going to be, yes, yeah, playing Joplin, Missouri. So
Oh,
um,
nice.
com, Elite Eight. So we're competing for a national championship. So
Oh, wow. You're right in the
we're
thick of it here then. Yeah, yeah. It's
yes
crunch
sir,
time.
yeah.
Uh,
Yes, no, 100%. Yeah, yeah, and I I've really enjoyed it, and have been able to have the opportunity to help develop players and work with them. So we actually have a separate development team. So our roster's around 22, 23 players, and we have a couple of development games for those guys throughout the year, and of course I'm still doing a lot with the varsity and stuff as well. So super blessed, and I'm a Christian, and
mhm.
I'm really big in my faith, and I really think that God is should be the most important thing in my life, and I live by that, stand by it, and am proud of it. I definitely appreciate you having me on. I love talking any basketball with anybody, so it's a great opportunity.
I, I'm really curious because of such a unique situation that you were in. What was it like for you to go back in a coaching capacity at Champion Christian? Did it feel weird? Did it feel just like home? What was that feeling like?
Yeah, so it was a super cool opportunity to get to just even the offer to get to do it. I was actually surprised that when they even offered me initially, that they would want a coach of my age, and kind of level. But I think I kind of going back into it. I think now it's been very smooth, and I think the relationship with the players has been really good, and I really enjoy being around all the guys and the coaches and everything. So it's definitely a big transition from the high school level, and just kind of the things that you kind of have to do as a coach on the day-to-day basis, and just the level of
Hmm.
maturity, age, and maybe even problems that guys are going through.
Sure.
Um, it's a little bit different. So, but I've definitely it's definitely been smooth, and I think that like I said, it's one of those things where it's been a little bit of a transition, but at the same time, it's worked out this year great.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, things sound like they're rocking and rolling pretty well for you right now, which is
Yes, sir.
which is
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool, which is really cool. Um, So one of the things that you mentioned is about the fact that being a young coach and having gone through situations where were a young coach getting right into it and you were in situations where you were barely older than the players that you were coaching.
Right.
In a situation like that, how were you able to kind of maintain like leadership and respect and be seen as the one in charge when that age difference really wasn't that great?
Right. Yeah, no, I think even my 2 years at Gospel Light, it was a unique situation actually. And I know we kind of talked about it earlier with you, and I know
Mhm.
you're coaching, kind of got your foot in several different sports and stuff. But our head coach was the head volleyball coach. So he was kind of that August to October range. He's coaching volleyball and kind of doing that. So my first year and second year actually, I had to coach like about 20, 21 guys on my own. Both varsity and junior high.
Mhm.
As a coach earlier on, so it was definitely a unique situation in a sense of I felt like I had to do a lot of self teaching and a lot of self learning instead of getting to watch somebody run a practice, tell
Yeah.
you things, give you advice. And of course, my head coach in those 2 years was a great coach, great guy. But you're doing one or two coaching one or two sports. Obviously somebody's got to step in and do it. So I think a big thing for me early was I really wanted the guys to understand that I was serious and that I cared, about them. I cared about the practice, and I wanted us to run everything at a first class level and pace. So I think for me, it was more having the practice plans ready, knowing kind of what I wanted to get into at the right times.
Right.
Breaking down, talking about defense, offense, going through plays and different things. And so I think for me, if you're no matter what the age and no matter where you're at, if you know what you're talking about, if you're prepared, and if you have a plan, then I think that players ultimately will come to respect you, and they'll come to realize, hey, I mean, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's not joking around. He's serious and he's focused, and I think they respect that. So I think that's been a big thing for me so far in my coaching career, is just trying to be prepared, trying to be ready for whatever the practice or the situation or the film or the game planning is, just kind of taking that role in it.
And I think that maybe is one of like the stereotypes or maybe one of the fears that comes with working with a guy who's a young coach or a young coach is that coach isn't
Hmm.
prepared right or that they're going to be unsure of themselves or not confident in themselves. But it sounds like one
Right,
of the things that was probably really helpful for you is that you had things planned out. You had things
right,
organized to a
yeah,
level where it was like,
yeah,
okay, I can tell this guy's taking this really seriously because this has been thought out and this has been planned out,
right,
and there's no he's not just guessing and making it up as he goes, sort of thing.
right. Yes, no, 100%. And it's kind of it's even one of those things where if when you're adding things into practice and you're implementing new things and you're talking about things, I think one of the best things that you can do is sometimes you walk into a practice or you're in a practice and you see the players standing off 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time, and you kind of I think that's part of losing engagement, and it can be
Mm,
part of a lot of small things that can happen within the practice. And so one thing that I always like doing is even timing our water breaks and keeping and watching the guys, making sure we're getting a little rest in between, and then we're getting right back out and doing what we need to do. And so you can kind of keep them engaged, keep them focused. And so I think that's been a big thing about it too, for sure.
yeah, I like that a lot. That's something that we started in implementing a few years ago was timing the water breaks, X amount of minute for water and so on and so
Okay.
forth, right
Yeah.
back on it. It's like I got things to
Right.
do. I'm trying to get
Yes.
a tight practice in here and I want to make sure every minute counts, sort of thing. So no, I like that a
Right.
lot. I think that helps keep everyone on track and keeps things rolling. So no, that's cool a lot. Um
Right.
Leadership roles. So being an assistant coach and having the ability to take on a leadership role, I know that for that to happen first, there has to be a certain level of trust that has to be earned before a head coach is going to trust their assistant to have any form of leadership. So I'm going to start with that part first about, in your opinion, what do you think that process was like to earn the head coach's trust first? Like what kind of went into the head coach being able to trust you to be able to have any sort of leadership role?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, any good head coach is obviously gonna, they're gonna question the assistants. They're gonna challenge you to make sure you know what you're talking about. And I think that one thing that both of my head coaches that I've gotten to work under have done always a good job about is really getting with us on practice plans and on different things and asking us, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And really opening up the floor to us assistants to be able to answer, you know, important questions. I think I just had one today with our coach who, was asking, we're kind of getting preparing for the team we're going to be playing and talk, briefly about, hey, should we do this? Should we do this? How should practice be set up today? And so I think any good coach or any good head coach is going to really challenge you as an assistant, and of course our other assistant, and really push us to say, hey, what do you think about this? And of course, honestly, sometimes we'll even have conversations like, we are now, where they'll say, well, why do you think this? And you get into talking about it and stuff, and so it's a really interesting thing. But I think one thing that you can really try to do as an assistant that I think has really helped me is kind of having an idea already and not
Sure.
necessarily saying, hey, I think we should do this at practice today, talking off just talking off the top of your head, but kind of thinking, going through your day, hey, let's try to do this and try to do this. So when your head coach asks, you're going to be prepared and you're going to know, hey, you're gonna know what to say. You're gonna have some good feedback for them, and so like I said, I think both of my head coaches and so far in my coaching career have been, extremely good at that, and they've been super open to any questions and things that we have, and I think that's helped me a ton for sure in my leadership.
And I know that's awesome. And then as that trust has been built, then I'm going to let you kind of speak to your experience about as that trust started to get built. What sort of leadership roles were you given, or what sort of responsibilities were you kind of allowed to kind of take the reins on once that trust had been established?
Yeah, so I think going back to my years in high school,
Hmm.
that coach, I think that the more that he started to trust me and realize, hey, I think this guy, probably knows, I trust him, knowing what he's talking about is really the game plans, and I think the game plans going in, playing a team, knowing some of their tendencies and some things that they want to do, kind of having their breakdown offensively and defensively written down, and kind of having walked through days. I think he gave me a lot of freedom and power to do small things like that, to
Hmm.
be able to discuss, hey, this is a really good. They shoot, 45% from three, and they like to hit from the outside. So you got to close out. Make sure you get a hand up and kind of run them off the line, and small things like that to where. I've been able to have a lot of freedom in game planning, but even in practice planning, actually, in a sense. So I think that a lot of times, the coaches, especially the head coaches, can be, really control in a lot of
Sure.
ways. So I think, like I said, to have the head coaches that I've been under, and to be so open and to allow me to, literally say, hey, we need to do this, and this, has been really cool for me. And I think it's been a great opportunity and experience. So there's been a couple of things that I've been able to do this year, even with at the college with practice plans, and of course I run most of the development workouts, but even with our main men's team, just being able to talk about certain things and implement certain drills and hopefully some plays here in the future or stuff. So I've kind of been talking to him about a couple that we might implement in the future coming years and stuff. But yeah, it's been a good experience for me to kind of get to lead in those game planning and things like that for the future for sure.
I think it's really cool that responsibility that I feel like a lot of really successful head coaches give in terms of the game plan, or like the scouting uh
Right,
responsibility, like the assistant coaches, to really let them kind of look at, game film and kind of break down game film, really dive into stuff or dive into scouting reports and really kind of come up with something that they think will work or will be effective. And I think that has to be really empowering as an assistant coach to know that you're kind of given that level of responsibility. And I imagine that really has to help, any assistant coach really feel like they're a part of the coaching staff, because that's a big responsibility to be given to, be in charge of
right.
maybe some game planning or scouting responsibility. Like, I think that's a really great way to kind of keep assistants engaged and really feel like they're a real big part of what's happening in the team.
Right. Yes. No, no, 100%. I think, one thing I've even been able to do this year is kind of we'll come up with 4 or 5 minute short game clips of opponents. And so I basically just, you go through multiple games of the team that you might be playing against next, or if you're, on a road trip and you're going to be playing 2 teams in 3 days, kind of
Hmm.
preparing for both of them. I might I've just kind of been editing clips of offensive sets, defensive sets, based on out of bounds plays, sideline out of bounds plays, and maybe really emphasizing the things that they're good at, and then maybe some ways that we can attack them and be successful in that game. And I think that's one thing I picked up on a lot this year as an assistant is kind of the game planning, scouting in a film sense.
Yeah.
More so, even more than just writing stuff down on the paper, but showing guys, hey, it's a lot easier when you're telling your players, hey, when you're showing them, hey, they want to do this, than when you're telling them, hey, they want to crash hard for rebounds and drive in on off. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
easier when you can show them with some film, for sure. So it's definitely been a cool opportunity for me, and I think one thing that I always try to tell myself is, man, what ways can I keep growing and learning as an assistant. So when that head men's job does open up one day, I'll be prepared in the best way, and I'll know how to empower my assistants as well.
And I think, just kind of as something I just kind of thought of with what you just responded with, I think that's why it is really helpful for head coaches to kind of know what their assistant coaches like goals are, and that if they
Right,
do want to become a head coach at some point, that head coach is giving the assistant coach multiple opportunities to be
right,
in charge of or learn multiple things, or do multiple things, so that they have that experience and they can speak to that experience when they're in that interview. And there's some
right.
assistant coaches who that's all they want to do, and they're perfectly fine in that role, and that's
Hmm.
good. And there's others who, as want to aspire to do more than that.
Hmm.
And I think, like, having that conversation as a head coach, to have that with your assistants, I think, could be really helpful to kind of know what sort of opportunities to give those assistants, especially if they want to, move one chair over, as they say.
Right. Oh no, 100%. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the uh the goals of when you're able to talk to your head coach and you're able to get close to the coaching staff, and like I said, I've been very blessed to be able to do that at both of the schools that I've been at. But I think they're able to understand your goals and kind of what you want to accomplish more, as a coach and as a person, as an individual. And so it's definitely, I definitely think now that,
Hmm.
I feel like the old school coaching, it might have been a little bit more, hey, head coach is going to speak the whole time, and then the assistants can, say a little bit at the end, or maybe, and I think that a lot of things now, even at my level, when you have, three, four coaches and a coaching staff, the assistants are getting more more empowered, and
Yep.
more responsibility and opportunity to get to do things and stuff. So I think I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I feel like I can grow and get better. And I actually, we had practice today, and even just being able to go out on the floor and stop the practice and say, hey, let's try to do this better, or focus on
Mhm.
this more, just to prepare for the competition coming up. So it's
Awesome.
been a great opportunity.
Yeah. And you mentioned about practices, and something that you're really, really prideful of, and the ability to kind of take charge in running practices. And so when you get that leadership responsibility of, hey, you get to run practice, and it's going to be your show. What do you make sure that you're working on with your guys, and what is it that you make sure that you're doing in terms of how you organize those practices in a way that um gets the most out of them, and really is an effective practice? So like when it's your time to run it, what do
Right.
you like to do? And I'll start with that. What do you like to do to kind of run those practices when it's your time to run them?
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah. So kind of going back to what I was saying before,
Hmm.
I was at my 2 years of high school, kind of had to run the practices and do, a full 2 hour length. So we would go from 3 to 5 every day. And so I know we talked about it earlier, but I'm a real defensive guy, and I
Yep.
and I really, enjoy the defensive side of the ball. I think I understand it a little bit better than the offensive side in a lot of ways. And I just think it's a very important side of the ball. And so I kind of over the 2 years, I would start every practice, the first 10 to 15 minutes with a defensive warm up, and it would kind of be, more defensive slides, defensive closeouts. And honestly, a lot of things that I felt like that would really just be more of a mental thing for my players to be able to grasp. Hey, defense should be first and foremost. It should be an important thing. And I really, really wanted the guys to grasp that and understand how important that side of the ball was. And then I would get into, some transition offense, transition defense stuff, and really kind of talk about, getting out. We like to push a lot,
Hmm.
on most of the teams that I've been able to coach on, both junior high, college, and high school. And so I like to run and get the ball out. And so we'll talk a lot about, attacking advantages of getting out in transition off of the defensive rebounds, and turnovers and steals. And what I really like to do, in the middle of our practices, I would a lot of times around the 3:55 time, I would make our guys go back into our locker room, or kind of, if not the locker room, would sit them down for 2 3 minutes, and kind of talk to them a little bit and be like, hey, kind of make it like a halftime kind of
Okay.
thing.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, to where it kind of felt like, I like to talk a lot about energy and effort and intensity. So if we ever were having a bad first part of practice, I would set them down, get in the locker room, make it feel like a game, and tell them, hey, let's try to pick up the intensity more. Let's try to do this better. Let's talk more. Let's communicate, and let's be a little bit more competitive, whatever the case may be. And then, the second part of practice will come out, and maybe do a couple of shooting drills and some different things like that to kind of get start focus on the offensive side of the ball more,
Hmm.
and then kind of go through our sets a little bit and talk about, maybe if we have a game that we talk about our opponent, what they like to do defensively and tendencies and stuff like that. So I very much like to make our practices, and believe that practice is a super important thing to winning games. And I just believe, personally, that that's where, you're going to get better and grow as a team, and as an individual. and I think that's part of a little bit of the reason. Of course, it's at the end of the day, it's about the players and what they're able to do and their talents and abilities. But the reason why we were able to have success last year and this year.
And I mean, first off, that's and I mean this in the best way possible. That is a lot. There's a lot that's going on. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of action. That's getting into these practices too, and it's like it's
Yes, sir.
working on a
Yeah.
lot of different things too, and it's going from it's like a game like speed practice. It feels like, which
Right.
I think
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
No. No.
much?
Yeah.
I'm curious. How much does that, if at all, sort of deviate or go away from maybe what a practice looks like that you don't run? Do you have kind of that freedom or that ability to kind of really put your own spin on it? Does it kind of follow similar to what a practice would be run by another coach? I'm just kind of curious about how yours kind of looks compared to if somebody else is in charge of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think, like I said, when you're able to talk to coaches and you're
Hmm.
able to kind of, have their ear on the side before practices when you're talking about what you want to do that day, I
Yep.
think, you're able to kind of, implement your philosophy a little bit, and at the same time, you know, learn from kind of what they like to do. And so obviously this year, it's not like the practices that I was doing last season, but it's just even being able to implement two or three drills, or talk, hey coach, can we make this more competitive, or can we make
Hmm.
this a little bit more, or give them a goal that they have to hit for a specific amount of shots or something. And I think that even learning from um, coaches and different things like I've been getting to this year is has been a big part of it as well. So I think if I were to go back and be coaching and having to run my own practices, I think I would even now take a couple of things that I've learned even this year as a college coach, and implementing it to my practices now. So I think it's just like what I said earlier is growing and learning from every coach, and kind of having that respect for the people who your head or
Yeah.
the first assistant, and kind of what they like to do, and at the end of the day saying, hey, that well this kind of helps and it works too. So we can you can learn and grow from that way. It's an interesting situation this year. Our head coach is,
Hmm.
super laid back, really great, phenomenal person. He's actually a pastor over at our church, Gospel Light
Oh, okay.
Church, and so he's a very solid guy, solid human being, and just kind of more of a players coach. Will let the players talk and speak into practices and stuff. And then our other assistant is kind of a more great person, but more disciplined, stern, old school kind of coach.
Little
And kind
balance
of
there.
yes, exactly. So there's definitely a balance between the two, and so I think for me, who I kind of feel like I'm more of a balance in a sense, anyways, of the two guys. I really enjoy getting to kind of learn from the both of them, and kind of implementing into my own stuff when I'm able to have my skill development practices and practices that I get to run now.
And it's nice to, I mean, it's great to have, I think, a coaching staff that has that like balance. I think like you kind of want a little bit of different personalities, and I think that it's
Right,
almost helpful in a way to, you don't want to you don't want to have a coaching staff necessarily as a head coach that's all like you, because then
right,
why are they there if they're all like you and they're not, they don't offer that different, sort of personality or perspective on things. So to kind of have what you said is kind of have like different little personality types, but at the same time,
yeah,
all there for the right reasons, kind of, you get the full perspective and you get the kind of the full experience the players do of having different
right.
types of coaches, right? That's really cool.
Yes,
I
yeah,
like that a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. No, it's a cool thing for sure. It's worked out this year well. So
So what's the what's kind of that balance for you in terms of managing, that desire or that ability that you get sometimes to take on those leadership roles and being able to take charge as a leader, as an assistant. But then also at the same time, I know that you have to also work within, the head coach's vision of the program and the ideas and the systems that the head coach wants to run. So how do you sort of balance like getting those leadership opportunities and leadership roles while also working within that vision that the program already has?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, first and foremost, it's maybe not always necessarily about agreeing with everything that the head coach is doing, but at the same time respecting, hey, you might want to run one or two drills differently. You might want to do this differently. But at the end of the day, I think it's about kind of respecting them for the program that they've built and they're running. Because I do think at the end of the day, the head coach has got to kind of set the tone, the culture, and lead the team and even the coaches. And so I think it's honestly more of a, hey, you don't have to say, hey, I might not like this drill as much as this coach or our other assistant does, but being more, hey, this is kind of the place, this is where I'm at. This is the position that I'm in as an assistant, and I'm going to do the best that I can at the opportunities that I'm given, and also support our coaches and on everything that they're doing. So I think it's a balance that you definitely have to learn. I think that this year I've definitely been more in a position to where you're learning maybe a little bit more than teaching. From my previous years at the high school, it was really a lot of teaching, less learning, and kind of having to jump right into full-time coaching. And so it's honestly it's been really cool, and I think it's something that has grown me a lot as an individual. And of course, honestly, it's really it's above all else on the basketball side of things. It's really cool to kind of respect them as human beings and getting to talk to them and know them and get closer to them as your relationship moves on and builds and grows. So.
Did you always feel that you had that ability to kind of uh, disagree or offer those alternate suggestions about how things should be run? Was that something that had to kind of be established, where that was something that you felt comfortable doing? Because I know that that could be hard for assistants to speak up and feel like a change might need to be made, or suggest something different, or suggest not doing something, and that could be a little intimidating, I know, for an assistant to do. Like how did that process work in terms of you feeling comfortable offering those sort of suggestions? Did it come right away, or was there a process to it?
Yeah, so I think a big thing that I even tell my players a lot now, when you're getting to coach and obviously there will be times where you might get a complaint about one thing or another, and I think the biggest thing that I always think is it's not necessarily if you disagree with something, if you want to talk to the head coach or a player about something. I think it's not necessarily just about you doing it, but in the time and the manner and the place that you do it. And I think that it'll say a lot about you if you want to have a one-on-one conversation, or you want to kind of talk in the office, when it's just you and the coaches, about something that you might disagree with, rather than doing it, in front of the players, in front of fans, or even after a game that you just won a game, and you might, even if you disagree with something that happened during the game, it's you celebrate the win, enjoy it. I always tell the guys 24 hours to kind of keep your head up and enjoy it, and then kind of move on to what's next. And so I think a big thing for me has been, if I've ever had something that I wanted to suggest or maybe ask the coach for a change in, just doing it at the right times, doing it in an appropriate sense, one on one. I think we live in such a social media, text, world now, and being confrontational is something that can be really hard um,
Yeah, that
for us.
in-person conversation. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. So I think, being able to talk to them in person, eye to eye, and have that conversation, it goes a much farther way, in my opinion, than a text or, just saying something small or, or making it, doing it in a different way or sense.
Hmm. Yeah, and just like with as a head coach, you don't want parents coming at you right after a game and bombarding you or coming after you about all these suggestions and all these changes. I think in that same sense, after a game or a tense situation like that, you probably don't want necessarily your assistants coming
Right.
after you right away either, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
give it that
No,
time,
yes.
sort of
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah.
And this just popped in my head, and I realized I didn't have the space to formally ask you about, and this is kind of
Yeah.
pivoting a little bit, but I'm going to lose this question if I don't ask it to you right now. So,
Yeah.
leadership responsibilities during the game. What is kind of expected of you in the game? Do you have leadership responsibilities in game that you kind of keep track of or or responsible for?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I kind of give myself the opportunity to grow in and learn in this year is, of course, we're all the coaches are able to have a little time to talk at the beginning of the game. We might talk scouting report, game planning, some small things, maybe what we want to do offensively or defensively. But one thing that I've really picked up on this year, and doing a little bit is kind of, and I'll either do it before the game or, during warm-ups, or maybe, as soon as the game's about to start, I talk to the bench a little bit. But, kind of getting in players' ears just one-on-one, and giving them game goals, giving them
Hmm.
like, hey, if we have a 6'8" post player, and obviously his role is more geared towards, interior defense and getting rebounds and stops for us. And so I might tell him, hey, give me six, defensive rebounds, or give me seven, or give me eight, and giving them, maybe not even talking about points as much, but steals and rebounds and assists, and maybe one area that you're able that would really help if they stepped up and performed well in. And I think that's been a cool thing, kind of to just kind of give a players a game within the game, and a
Yeah,
challenge
sure.
within the game, and kind of give them an opportunity to say, hey, I'm not just want to do well, but I'm also wanting to hit this goal for coach, and do different things and stuff. So besides that, I do, I kind of will, if our head coach before asked me to tally, offensive rebounds to the opponent, or steals that we had, or points in offensive transition, or whatever the case may be, I'll do that. And I'll make sure to keep a tally on that. And usually every game, it's one or two things that we try to keep count of. Um, that maybe it's hard to get on stats, like paint touches and points.
Hmm.
Points off of turnovers and different small things like that. That sometimes it's hard to keep up with. But I think it's, even from the high school level last year, it was a lot of the same stuff, and it's been a cool thing to kind of see the game on the floor as an assistant. And I know that you're, head coach, so yeah, I'm sure you understand just how different the head coach might view the game than even the assistants and the players and the fans. Because it's a lot different situation trying to head coach a team, when you're, and of course I understand that through junior high and coaching summer ball. So it's an interesting experience, and I really enjoy it right now. Getting to do what I'm doing on our bench.
And I think it's just so important to have the assistants there doing something and being engaged. 'Cause there's such a helpful resource to have, because they can see things that as a head coach you might not be able to see, or your attention may be elsewhere, and assistant coach may be able, like you said, to kind of keep track of something, or maybe just observe something. And I think it's just so vital for head coaches to make sure that they have that other voice
Right.
there that can maybe offer them, like, hey, I've been noticing this, or I've been seeing this, because you don't know if the head coach might notice it. They might be noticing 7, 8, 9, 10 other things. They might need somebody in their ear to
Right.
point out
Right.
something that they may have missed or not seen, because uh it's hard, for any head coach to see it and do it all on their own. So to have some guys that have, or girls who've been empowered and been given responsibilities, or who have the ability to speak up if they feel they need to say something. I mean, I think, I hope every coach would want that on their staff.
Right. Oh no, 100%. Yeah, no, 100%. And I think obviously when in timeouts and in brief moments we're able to maybe suggest one or two small things to them. I think our my head coach this year is does a pretty good job with the rotation and getting players in and out. And so maybe not even as much of that as even just, hey, I'm seeing this, or and of course, we'll have that brief conversation at halftime before we go into the locker and talk to the guys and stuff. So that's definitely an important thing for sure. And that's a good point.
Yeah, the like, hey, this guy's getting in, or you want to make sure you get that guy or this girl in, or something like that. Like, oh, like,
Right.
as head coaches, you can forget about that sort of thing. Like, oh yeah, I did want to put
Yes.
this guy in, or I
Yes.
did need to get this girl minutes,
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
No, hundred
Because
percent.
once that
Yeah.
game goes, like,
Yeah.
ooh, it's amazing how much kind of you not necessarily forget, or how much how your priorities shift from what you think you were going to prioritize beforehand to all of a sudden
Right.
in the game,
Right.
though, those things can shift real quick.
Right.
It's
Oh, yes. No, 100%. Yeah. No, I think I actually coached over the summer. We, just doing summer ball, actually was able to coach our high school teams the past 2 summers and got the head coach, that. And I think even in that, when you have 8, 9 guys, even it's and honestly, not even having another assistant, I definitely understand how tough it can be to manage playing time, manage the minutes and stuff. And so, there was times where I would look over to the side just for, one assistant or somebody, or, to be there with me just to be able to tell you something. But I
any
think,
other adult, please. Any other adult
right,
who's got my
exactly.
back. Yeah.
Yes. Right. Somebody who knows just a little bit that can give me a little bit of, just another voice to kind of be in my ear for sure.
Yeah, awesome. What advice, coach, would you give to head coaches in terms of the ways that you think they should, for a lack of a better word, treat their assistants? And how do you think head coaches could use their assistants, again, for a lack of a better term, use their
Yeah.
assistants kind of their fullest potential, and make sure that, they're getting the most out of the guys and the girls who are on their staff?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that something that I've really enjoyed in my 3 years and being assistant and having, like I said, we've talked about a head coach who's open and allows you to do things, is one thing that I would tell head coaches is allow your assistants to speak before games and after games and maybe at halftime. And I say that just because I really do think that it not only helps the coach, but I think it's good for the players, and I think it's good for the team just to kind of hear, when you have three coaches telling you, similar things. I think it kind of goes over well with the players a little bit more than when it's just the one. And of course, um, you know, uh, I think the biggest thing for me that I've been able to do is given a period before games to talk and to speak to the players for 2 or 3 minutes, whether it's game plan or point of emphasis and small things like that. But just being able to do that has helped me grow a ton as a coach, and I think that of course, I'm not in other teams' locker rooms and with other head coaches, but I do think that allowing your assistants an opportunity to get to engage and give a speech, whether it's a small one or a halftime, brief halftime segment speech, or something like that to give them through the game and after the game, and maybe halftime is super important. So that would be my biggest thing. I think that it really does help. Like I said, not only the coaches but the players to hear another voice, and I'm pretty big on that for sure.
I think like the kind of the message I sort of got out of your response, and kind of the thought I was thinking of about that is how important it is, I think, for the players to know that the assistant coaches have kind of their own voice, and they have
Right,
their own like unique thoughts and unique ideas, and that they're not just saying the same thing the head coach is doing, but like
right,
they're saying their own piece and their own thing that's important. And it's, okay, like I know that, what coach is about to say, it's going to be different. It's still going to be within the same like vein of message, not going to be completely off base, but it's going to be something
right,
different that isn't necessarily touched on by the head coach, and is something I have to listen to, because it is going to be maybe a new piece of information or something new that I wouldn't have considered otherwise.
right. No, no, 100%. Yeah, it's funny. Our head coaches actually told us as assistants, in the past, hey, that was a great point, you brought up, or that was I can't believe I didn't think about that, or didn't say that, and kind of just, even if it's just a small compliment after a game of saying, hey, that was a great little, addition that you had to the speech, before the game, or saying something that, I really wasn't thinking too much about. So, like you said, it does go. It is nice when you do have two or three coaches who are saying, maybe all different things, or maybe even trying to get the same message across. Like, hey, we need to play really strong defense to be able to win the game, but just talking about different aspects of, how we're going to do that, and how we're going to go our ball screens, how we're going to take away drives, and close out on shooters, and different small things like that I think, really, really, really help the overall team.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I can think of, at least on a few occasions, girls who have coached in the past who,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, um, I could be, when I was coaching, even when I was coaching a freshman team, for example, but working with like the varsity players, how there would be a player who, if the varsity coach was saying something, it just didn't quite stick with her. But if ever I was saying it, like I could just say it in a way that it, like, oh, like it clicked with her. I don't know if it was just the way I worded
Right.
it or just the way I delivered, but even things like that, like you never even really know. Like maybe one of your assistants just has like a certain way to speak to a player, a certain connection with a player, way to connect with what they're, with them in a way, and they can say something to them in a way that maybe the head coach can't quite, and like use that,
Right.
leverage that relationship, or that, connection that they have to build up the team for sure.
No, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And I think, just before I hit the concluding segment, I think one of the things I get out of your responses, and I'll let you speak about this, is,
Yeah.
even though you're given these leadership roles, and given these opportunities, I think one of the things that it seems like you also are demonstrating in leadership is that you are still in line with the head coach's vision, and I can definitely get the sense that players know that they can't, go to one coach and have them contradict the other, or pit coaches against each other. I can definitely tell that
Right.
it seems like you guys have a unified vision, and that like what one coach says, all the coaches say, and you all are going to back each other up, sort of situation.
Right. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. 100%. I think it's one of the most important things that I've learned even from coaching is first getting on the same page with your coaches, and having the same goal, having the same culture and vision of the program. Because I mean, even in the players that we recruit, I mean, you know, we make sure that I always make sure that if I'm looking at a guy and evaluating them, and I'm really interested, that they both have a say, and they both are able to see that person, and know, hey, is this the right fit? Is this a good, is this, because I think one thing that we try to do And I think that we do a good job of is not only getting, good basketball players, but good people and good people that, guys who want to grow as men and grow to become, a good husband and a good father one day. And I think ultimately that if as long as we're on the same page and as long as we're staying together and kind of having each other's back, I think that's what kind of keeps the program where it's at and kind of keeps us on the same level and having the same goals and the same vision. In several different occasions and instances, I think there's a lot of times where a coach will come up and ask, what's going on while we're doing this and small things. And that's when, your side, your coaching side has to come in and be like, hey, this is what we want to do. And this is something that we, have all decided on, all three of us as coaches. I'm 100% backing the coach and my other assistant all day,
Yeah.
and I think that's cool that you brought that up. I think we talk about it often too, just amongst us and the staff, of just, how much we kind of, the players, the type of players that we want and the kind of guys that we want to bring in, that we all feel like is aligning us with the type of player and the team that we want to have.
For sure. Awesome. Coach, to wrap up, there's a couple questions I ask every guest. I'll go ahead and get started here with this first one, which is thinking back on your coaching career. What is a moment from your coaching career that you think others listening would be able to learn from?
Yeah, no, I think for me, in my 3 years, obviously, a big opportunity and experience that I was able to have was going to the state championship with our guys. And I think everything we were able to accomplish in my second season as a coach at Gospel Light was incredible. And I think, one thing that we always did, breaking out of practice and before practice, was go 1, 2, 3 state. Because that was kind of our goal, was to win a state championship. And I think kind of getting to that point, getting to the game, and it was actually an unfortunate circumstance. Our starting post player, our second best player, was hurt in the quarterfinal game, and so he was out. We kind of had some guys who were struggling with some small injuries and some different things and stuff like that. And so we knew it was a tough game going in, and we got down to the end. And it was a tie game. We actually had hit a game tying shot, and there was a couple seconds left on the clock. They inbound the ball, dribble it down, shoot a three at the buzzer, goes in. And I think it was a very tough moment for me, I think, as a young coach, and obviously for all the players. And I just remember going into the locker room, and where everybody's crying, everybody's emotional, and obviously sad about the game. But I think one thing that I had to grow and learn from in that experience is, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have tough losses, you're going to have great wins, and I think the biggest thing that you can do as a coach and as a person, just in life in general, is get up the next day and keep pursuing your passion and your dreams and doing what you want to do. And obviously that's a lot easier said than done sometimes, but I think that in the opportunity to kind of go through that and have that, such a monumental goal kind of be right there and super, so close for you to get, and then you're not able to quite get it done. I think it's grown me in a lot of ways, and I think like I said, I think my one piece of advice to coaches and just players and people in general is to just keep pushing, keep striving for your dreams and your goals, and I think that everything happens for a reason, and I think ultimately I learned more that day about myself and about me as a coach and my goals as a coach. At the end of the day, what's more important than even winning a state championship, and what are we going to remember looking back on in 10 years and stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
keep your head up and keep pushing and understand that, you're going to have, as a coach, you're going to have some tough days. You're going to have some great days. And I'm sure you know this, but it's kind of part of the job. It's kind of part of being in that position, and you
Sure.
kind of just have to be thankful for the opportunity and be blessed to get to be in the position that you're in.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully, as I'm hearing your story, I'm like, man, I'm hoping for a real happy ending now here for you as you're keeping on this season right now. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
maybe we can keep pushing that, and of tears of joy coming.
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be a crazy a crazy experience for sure to
Yeah.
get to experience that.
That'd be fun. To wrap up, Coach, I give every guest what I call a 60-second soapbox, but I never time anyone. So if you go longer than 60 seconds, that's perfectly okay. But it's your platform
Awesome.
to kind of
Yeah.
get out your kind of a closing thought, a closing message, sort of like a final idea that you want to leave the listeners with, and you can kind of take it in any direction that you want. So I'm just going to kind of open up the floor to you, Coach, and I'm just going to kind of let you take it from here.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate it. And again, I appreciate you having me on. And it's been a super great opportunity for me, just to get to talk with you and stuff.
Hmm.
But I think one thing, getting sometimes I receive DMs and messages on Twitter from other young coaches and coaches getting in the profession. And I think one thing that I would really not mind saying to young coaches and coaches who, maybe it's your first or second, or you're still trying to get out of college and get finished up before you get into coaching is, understand that you're going to be given an opportunity to lead, young people, whether it's a boy or a girl, and to really, try to take that seriously and not lightly, no matter if it's 12 or 25 or, five people, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Understand that, hey, you're going to be in a position where you're leading and ultimately trying to have the right influence on someone's life. And so I think a big thing for sure is, be a strong leader, and take initiative. I think one thing that a lot of coaches and people kind of get caught up sometimes is just doing their job and doing their role. And I do think that's important. But I think that as a coach, one of my biggest things that I've learned is kind of taking initiative and doing things that your coaches might not even be asking you to do, like washing jerseys or making game clips, doing setting up practices and trying to get sponsors and fundraisers and things that maybe you're not even supposed to have to do. But try to take initiative to care about the program and the team and the group that you're a part of. And I think at the end of the day, if you're doing those things and you're taking the job serious, I think those are some main keys to being a good coach and a successful one. Is kind of making the most of your time, being fully engaged in what you need to do on a day in and day out basis. And I try to take very, very serious and have a lot of pride in the things that I get to do, and I'm very thankful for the position that I have, even as an assistant.
Yeah, what a wonderful opportunity we get, right? Sometimes we forget about how cool and awesome of an opportunity this truly is to
Right.
work
Yes.
to work with young people, but also to just teach them through a sport of basketball. Like how lucky is that? How lucky are we
Right.
to have that privilege to be able to do something so awesome like that?
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy,
Hmm.
especially after when you get that win. It's like, man, this is or when you get a special moment with the player. It's like this is the best job in the world. So,
Yeah, yep,
it's
nothing better.
it's yes, sir. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Coach Gravitt, I want to thank you for coming on, talking about your journey, talking about being a leader as an assistant coach, the way that assistant coaches can kind of take some leadership responsibilities, talking a little bit about the interaction with you and the head coach and the way that y'all work together as a staff and all the great things you got going on. So I appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy, and I know that you got some work still ahead to accomplish here
Yes,
in
sir.
these next
Yeah.
few weeks. So best of luck the rest of the way, and hopefully it all works out the way it needs to, Coach. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate it, Coach, and thank you again for the opportunity. And excited. I'll definitely keep you up, to date with how we do this next week. So, but I'm excited for us. Hopefully, we come out and do what we need to do. So, appreciate you, and go Tigers.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.